Shelly Tygielski is the founder of a mutual aid organization called PandemicofLove and the author of the New World Library book, Sit Down to Rise Up: How Radical Self-Care Can Change the World. When I found out she was preparing to go to the Ukrainian-Polish border to provide trauma-informed resources for humanitarian aid workers and evacuees, I was inspired to have this conversation with her to learn more about how we can support her efforts. I hope that you'll enjoy our conversation and that you will do what you can to support the people of Ukraine. I know that you did extensive research into organizations that are providing on the ground efforts in the Ukraine, and that PandemicofLove is ultimately decided to support and channel funds into Global Empowerment Mission is the name of the group. So will you tell us about why you selected them of all the options of people that are doing good work there?
Yeah, so Global Empowerment Mission is actually an organization that I'm extremely familiar with. The CEO of that organization, Michael Capone, has been somebody that I've known in professional capacities and then as a kind of co-humanitarian, as a peer, if you will, a good Samaritan. The last time we worked together specifically was during Hurricane Dorian, which was a Category 5 hurricane that hit in the Bahamas. I think it was in 2018. And so they're an incredible organization of first responders and incredibly efficient. They really understand how timing is of the essence in these cases. And so I trust Michael, I trust Global Empowerment Mission. And I saw that they were really one of the first organizations that were on the ground. The fact that they're there and they embed themselves and they really allow for the volunteers on the ground, the people who are local, to help to rebuild their own community. So case in point, they have hundreds of volunteers at this point that they've hired who speak Ukrainian, who speak Polish, who speak Russian, who are Ukrainian, who literally just cross the border and we slap a GEM shirt on them, a Global Empowerment Mission shirt on them, if they want to stay and they want to help. And there are many people who do want to give back and be of service to their country, and we put them on our payroll and they help. So I did a lot of research, but in the end, all roads wound up leading back to Global Empowerment Mission. So that's where I'm going to be and who I'm going to be with over the next few weeks as I arrive in Poland on the border.
And what do their efforts on the ground look like? What will you be doing and what are they doing?
I mean, literally everything. I can't even, we have 10 different satellite points where as people are coming in through the borders, we process individuals that are coming in. And the processing means, okay, what do you need in this moment, right? Short term, you need food, you just walked for a million miles, you need nourishment, you need to sit down. And then we kind of move to the next phase of like, okay, where are you going to go? Do you have a place to go? Like, do you have a family member in Poland? Do you have a family member in Hungary, in Germany, in the UK, in Spain, in the United States, right? And once we kind of figure that part out, we have many different systems. So it sort of just, everybody enters through this one portal and then they either, go right, go left, or based on their answers, it's almost like a choose your own adventure book. I mean, I don't know if that's the right analogy in these times, but really from a metaphoric perspective, it's like, okay, where, based on your answer, it kind of puts you into a different track. And so if you have family members who can take you and they're in the EU, or they're, maybe you're an African student and you want to go back to Africa. Maybe you have a grandmother in Canada and you want to go to Canada. We have a partnership with the largest travel agency in Poland, and we have an intake form. And so you fill out that entire intake form, your entire group does, and within 24 to 48 hours, you have a plane ticket in your hand and you're able to get to where you need to go. No expenses look to you, like we pay for everything. And then in the interim, we make sure that you have somewhere to go, that you have housing. Airbnb is our partner. They've given us thousands and thousands and thousands of vouchers that we can use in many different countries across the EU. More countries are being added on a daily basis. And then in addition to that, a lot of people have obviously fled with literally just the clothes on their back or whatever they could carry with them, which is not very much. And so if you're a mother and you need supplies because you have a toddler and you need diapers and you need baby food or you need formula, we have that. if you are an elderly individual that was sort of wheeled over, or you're on specific medication and you need medical attention, we can assist you with that. We also just signed 2 one-year leases with warehouses that are well over 100,000 square feet each. One is in Poland, one is in Hungary. And just today, we had our first delivery from Goya Foods Europe, of 159,000 pounds of food. So many different organizations, both here in the United States and also across Europe and all over the world, are working together to streamline getting us as many goods as we can into this gigantic warehouse. And what we're doing is we're not hoarding this stuff. We're essentially working with grassroots organizations, small organizations, church groups, et cetera, that are on the ground, that are housing 50 people, 60 people, 80 people. They know what these individuals need. And so we're essentially just like sort of this one-stop shop for any individual and or organization that is coming in and requires any type of support. So, you know, I mean, that's it in a nutshell. I mean, but there's so much more.
Well, it's just, my heart is in my throat listening to you. I mean, it just makes it so real. And I'm curious, what was your decision-making process like when you knew, like, I need to go?
I lead with my heart, you know, and I talk about this a lot in my book, right? I talk about how, what my decision-making process is like. And really, I first always turn inward. I never skip over the inner. And I really have to sit with and grapple with what is it that I'm feeling? What is it that I'm feeling? What is the quality of my emotions? You know, can I label them? Can I name them? Can I understand them? And then based on that, I can, you know, move to really just starting to think about, okay, if I'm feeling this way, what can I do about it in a tangible way? If I'm feeling angry, if I'm feeling incensed, if I'm feeling outraged about what's happening, or I'm feeling despair, what can I tangibly do about it? And when I used to ask this question many years ago, the answers used to be very local. You know, they used to be very communal in nature. And fortunately, as my networks have grown and the impact of Pandemic of Love has grown, I've been able to expand those answers, and they're a lot more lofty. But as I sat with the feeling of despair and the feeling of angst and the feeling of anger that was pouring out of me, I thought, okay, what am I going to do about it tangibly? I can't just sit with this anger. I have to actually tend to it, and I have to understand it, and then I have to physically do something about it. And most importantly, the most important question always is, and how do I come from a place of love? How do I come from a place of love? And so as I knew that I had to amplify and use the Pandemic of Love platform to raise funds, and I started thinking about how we're going to distribute it, and I reconnected with Michael, who was, again, already on the ground in Poland. As the first wave of refugees started to come in across the border, he basically said, when are you coming over here? Like, you should just come, you know? And the reality is that I feel like I also have a very big fiduciary responsibility to our donors who have donated so much money. We're committed now to $40 million of aid. And that number is growing every day. It was $11 million a few days ago. It was $25 million 2 days ago. It's $40 million today. And I hate to say it, but unfortunately, I don't think this is going to go away anytime soon. So I feel like I need to go, and I need to do a reconnaissance mission to understand and see for myself with my own eyes. I'm also really incredibly proud that, so my son is a sophomore at UC Santa Cruz, and he's finishing his quarter on Friday, and he has spring break. And I told him I was going to Poland, and he said, I'm coming with you. And I said, what do you mean? Like, don't you want to go to Mexico? Like, it's your spring break. And he said, nope, I'm coming with you. I'm coming to Poland. Like, what's more important than that? So I'm actually really humbled by the fact that he's going to come with me, and that he's going to be able to also, as a 20-year-old, really understand all of the afflictions of this world, but also all the beauty that's in it. And I think that it's promising when young people like him want to roll up their sleeves, because they're the ones who are going to hopefully be able to unfurl those solutions for us and lay them out for us.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you have a sense at this point of what you'll be doing on a daily basis?
I don't know. I mean, I know I'm going to Medyka, which is really on the border between Lviv in Ukraine and Poland. We've taken over an entire hotel. We have our headquarters in the conference room, and every morning there's like a stand-up meeting with sort of every silo of the operation that's working together. And so, yeah, I don't have necessarily like a specific vision in mind in terms of like, this is what my day is going to look like. But I imagine that when I get there, I'm going to know. It will be revealed. All will be revealed as soon as I get there. And I see where the need is the
I'll
greatest.
put your Instagram handle on here because you've been really great about offering ways that people can plug in, and I'd love for us to just talk about a few of those. I know you're looking for people who speak Ukrainian and
Yeah.
Polish and that kind of thing. So could you share a few ways that people can get involved?
Yeah, there's so many different ways actually. So for our mindful community, if you're a yoga teacher, if you're a mindfulness teacher, if you're a meditation teacher, a life coach, etc., and you speak Ukrainian, Polish, or Russian, and you're interested in recording content for us, right? You understand the nature of recording guided meditations and the cadence that's required. We want to hear from you. And if you are just somebody who's not necessarily in that field, or you have family members that want to help but don't know how, then, and they speak Ukrainian, Polish, or Russian, then send them our way. We have documents that they can translate for us that eventually could be recorded. We also are looking for what we call Global Empowerment Mission Ambassadors, GEM ambassadors. And that's a layperson, any person in the United States who wants to start an Amazon wish list or a Walmart wish list or a Target wish list, any of the online retailers. We have a list of our greatest needs that changes on a daily basis. And it's a great way for you to get your kids engaged, something that they could take to their school, to the PTA. If people just purchase literally one item, and some of these items are like hygienic supplies, like feminine hygiene products, or, these are not all like fancy, big, like we're not asking everybody to buy a generator, but it's a way for everybody to do a little bit. And if a lot of people do a little bit, it makes a huge difference. All of the items from the Amazon wish list then get sent to our Miami headquarter warehouse. And we have a daily convoy that's going over to Poland and to Hungary right now. So, pallets, hundreds of thousands of pounds of goods on pallets are arriving on a daily basis. And we're working with the local governments in Hungary and in Poland to make sure that there are no issues, that the stuff can get through. It's humanitarian aid. So even if you think like, well, what can I do? I can only probably get 10 of my friends to buy an item. That's 10 items that we wouldn't have had before. Everything from diapers and, warm clothing, even things like, believe it or not, dried goods like pasta, just basic things that we take for granted. So all you need to do is send us an email, pandemicoflove@gmail.com. And in the subject line, you write GEM Ambassador, and get a response with the list and directions. And if you don't know how to create an Amazon wish list, for example, there's directions on how to do that as well. So it's fairly simple. And then finally, of course, people who have the wherewithal, have the capacity to help monetarily, that also really helps. So, you can go to globalempowermentmission.org, and we have a Kindful link, and you can donate through the Kindful link. And it's 100% tax deductible. And then if you are looking to just, you're not necessarily as concerned with tax deductions, and you want to send a Venmo or a Cashapp or a PayPal, you can always, use the Pandemic of Love handles, which Kim will put in the show notes. And so that's another way that you can help. So there's just many, many different ways you can help. This is going to take a village. Currently, we're at 2 million refugees who have left the Ukraine, and the United Nations today estimated that 10 million individuals, 10 million, that's a whole state. That's like all of Florida, basically, like leaving the state and going somewhere. Just try to imagine that. Like it's numbers that you can't even comprehend, of people who, had to leave everything behind. Everything, their life, their community, their friends, their neighbors, their work, You know, maybe you worked your entire life to start a business, to open up a bakery, to open up a restaurant. You just got married, you're starting a life, and suddenly all of that is ripped away from you, and you're suddenly displaced, and you're in a place where you know nobody, and you may or may not even be with your family or with your, you know, friends or your network. And so that is, you know, I think it becomes our moral obligation, humanity's moral obligation, to say we caused this, and so we need to fix it.
Another thing I wanted to ask you about is I've had a lot of friends who are just, I mean, the magnitude of that, right? Like it's just impossible to even imagine it,
Yeah.
from where we sit. And I've had a lot of friends who are just so overwhelmed by it personally,
Yeah.
like that they almost can't function in their lives if they're paying too much attention. You know, they can only look so much. And your book is all about self-care and having you know, that self-care so that you can be more engaged. So I would just be
Yeah.
curious what you would say to people who are feeling that sense of overwhelm and like they don't know how to plug in and it's almost too much for them to handle. Like
Yeah.
what would you say to those people?
So I'll say a couple of things. The first thing that I'll say is I'll quote Rumi, who said, "The only way out is through." And I think that if you're not willing to really deeply go inside, right? Think about Joseph Campbell talks about our world is like the universe is a circle, and everything, there's a line through it. Everything below the line is unawakened, and everything above the line is awakened. And so if you're suppressing yourself into being in the unawakened state because it's too much for you to bear, right? Then it's because you're not sitting with it. You're not tending to matters of the heart. You're not nurturing yourself. And so I'm not telling people to skip over the inner work. I'm telling people that, yes, what you're feeling is valid. Your seen and felt experience is valid. Tend to that. Allow it. Don't be judgmental. Don't exacerbate the situation by like keeping your CNN alerts on and watching the news. Tend to yourself. Get in there. Get dirty. Name it to tame it, as Dr. Dan Siegel says. You know, we got to label what it is that we're feeling. And then once you get to that point where you deeply understand what you're feeling, you can start to really nurture that feeling, understand it, and then come up with one thing, one area where you can tend to the area of the garden that you can reach. Tend to the area, that's a Buddhist proverb, tend to the area of the garden that we could reach. Nobody's asking you to be as crazy as I am and to get on a plane and fly 25 hours to go to Poland. But I think that if you can look around in your own community and say, are there Ukrainians in my community? Are they suffering? Are their family members suffering? Are they bringing in their family members to live with them? And do they need items? Do they need things? Let me start an Amazon wish list for them. Let me get to work with things that can actually be of service and that could tend to the way that I'm feeling. Because I think looking away is not the answer. And staying stuck in that overwhelmed state is basically staying stuck in the fear frozen state, which is unawakened. So it's time to really wake up because, you know, there's no amount of nanotechnology or, you know, computer technology or money or fame or anything else that can solve the world's biggest problems, right? Whether it's the destruction of our environment, whether it's war, whether it's racism, all of those big, harrowing problems that humans created are rooted in matters of the heart. And so therefore, the only way that we can fix that is by tending to the heart. How do we come from a place of love? That's the question. How do I come from a place of love? And if you can always get to that point where you're asking that question, it will lead you to the right answers.
Yeah, beautiful. And I really appreciated also in one of your slides I saw on Instagram about the power of prayer. Like it can even be as simple as, allowing yourself to feel that and pray. And so to
Yeah.
close, I'm just curious what your prayer is for this situation.
Yeah. So actually, as you know, Kim, I practice loving kindness. I practice metta every single day. And my prayer, which I'll read to you, because this is the prayer that I've been saying every day for the last few weeks. And I had my friend Emily McDowell, who's a super talented artist, make it look pretty. May all beings be safe. May all beings be free from suffering. May all beings know peace in their hearts and in the world. And may whatever is happening to us right now be a part of what wakes us up. So my wish for everybody here is to be awakened. May we wake up so that we can change, transform, and shift the paradigm of the world that we're living in.
Amen, sister. And thank you.
Thank you.
And Godspeed. I'm going to be following along and just supporting and doing what I can here. And I'm just really inspired by the way you walk your talk. So thank you for that.
Thank you.